dun, dun, dun. We ready? Wait, hot, hot, hot. My God. Fantastic. I will be there. Yeah, I'll be there with bells and whistles on. Soon. Bye.
Bye-bye.
Hi guys, welcome to my channel. So in today's video, I will be sharing with you the processes that I went through in order to manifest my house. The steps that I'm going to share with you are pretty subconscious. I'm simply relaying the processes that I went through to manifest my house. And I think you will find as well, once I go through these processes, a lot of them are inherent, or you do them subconsciously without knowing. So what I've done is, now that I'm in a space where I have manifested my house, yes, Jesus, I have just kind of backtracked to see, okay, how did I actually get to this place? And going through that process, I realized that, hang on a second, I've been doing this all of my life. So I hope you, as my viewer, you're kind of, you probably are, but you're not in this state where you're thinking manifestation is beyond me and how do these people do this? Listen, everyone can do it. Everyone can do it. It's easily doable by your average person. You just need to know how to tap into those energies. So that's what I'll be sharing with you in this video. So without further ado, let me get into the tips. Tip number one, and this is the most fundamental tip out of all of them. Not that it's the most important, but I think this is the foundation tip. So what is your why? Why do you want to manifest this house? So I know for me, when I was manifesting my house, I kind of got into the stage where I just said, you know what? I need to write these things down. I need to write, it's like a letter to God almost. I need to find out, why do I want this house? And once you start narrowing down, okay, I want this house because, okay, for me, just so you have a firm example, I desperately wanted to move out of London. I hated London. I'm a Caribbean girl. I'm born in Jamaica, so I was born in the countryside. And I think after a while, especially as my spirituality evolved, I realized that, listen, I wanted to see a lot of green around me. I needed, my friend stayed around the other day and he was like, listen, Yanika, I can't deal with this. It's too quiet. It's extremely quiet where I live. So everything about where I am now is what I envisioned in my mind. So that was my big why. I couldn't stand living in the city anymore. So you need a humongous drive to kind of propel you into action. It needs to, this is why sometimes when people they're in financial situations where they're going bankrupt, or somebody's mother or their caretaker got hurt, so they needed to go out and do a job. You need a humongous why. Something needs to push you. You need a huge push. So for me, I was just tormented. I couldn't take it anymore. And I sat down and I listed, and like I said before, it's almost an appeal to God. Why am I deserving of this house? And I think that's probably the way to look at it. Why do you deserve to have this? Once you get into a space of clarity where you understand with extreme certainty, this is why I want the things that I want, then you streamline your thoughts and you focus. Now you have the eye of the tiger. Because if you're all over the place and your vision is, helter-skelter, you're not really sure what you need, or what you will never find what you need unless you know what you're looking for, unless you know what you want. So when you have that level of certainty in your heart and you know distinctly, these are the reasons why I want to have this thing, then the universe now comes into action and it's able to deliver on what you require, because you know for certain this is why I want what I want. The reason why enlisting your whys works so effectively is because, number one, as said before, you're very distinctive and you're very precise in terms of your needs. So once you're quite straightforward with your needs and you've streamlined them down to a definitive list, then the universe knows what to work according to. So you've sent out that signal to the universe. Secondly, the universe knows you're serious. Once you start to kind of delve into, okay, I really need this thing and this is why, then you put an element of seriousness on it. So this is why it's important to also write down your whys. So you go into a space, you find out, why do I want this thing? And then you start to clearly write them down. And by doing this, you place a certain amount of attention on this thing that you want. Once you place attention on something, it has to manifest. And this is why, you know, I'm a spiritualist. I have nothing against religion, you know, 100%. But this is why you have prayer groups and people say, oh, I'm going to fast and pray. And then things come to fruition, the thing that they were fasting and praying about. And, you know, afterwards, it's a whole celebration of, yes, God did it for me. And God, listen, God is involved, right? But it's purely because of you tapping into the laws of the universe. And a fundamental law of the universe is placing your attention very clearly on things, honing in, zoning in, focus. Like I'm looking straight into this camera now, focusing entirely on what you want. This is one of the biggest things for being able to manifest what you need. So this is why you have miraculous healings when there are prayer groups, and usually there's more than one person. This is why you'll hear people say, oh, my prayer group or my prayer circle. The more people that focus on that one thing, the more intensity there is, which I'll touch on later, and the more likelihood there is of that thing coming true. So intensity is very important. Focus is very important. And, you know, once again, this is not God did it for me, because what that does is it takes away the power from you telling yourself, I am able to do this, to then you putting that ability that you have innately into the hands of a higher power, into the hands of God. No, this is you. This is your brain manifesting. Okay, so please take that point away. Your brain is able to manifest very, very easily by focusing. Which brings me on to point number 2, which ties very closely into point number 1. So once you have with clarity the thing that you want, in our case, we want this house, right? And you're making your list. What you find is it's impossible for you to write that list without you kind of going into your heart space. So I know for me, I was like, oh, God, bring the tissues. I'm tired. I can't live in the city and this, and it's affecting my health. You're going to be very clear, and you have to write that from a space of affinity, a space of longing. Like, this is something I deeply desire, and that's a key word, desire. You must really, really want this. Therefore, it must come from your heart space. This is why you hear people say, you know, they had their heart set on this thing. Your heart is the hugest, it's not the biggest organ, but it's the organ with the biggest electromagnetic frequency. So this is why when you have your heart set on something, you fall in love with it and you give it the power that it needs, because the heart is able to power things up. Just like a horse, shout out to my power animal, just like a horse has the ability to kind of drive things forward because it's a strong animal. The same thing goes for the heart. So if you really want to manifest anything with speed, put that right down in your heart. Sit down somewhere and decide in your heart, why do I need this? And have that quiet time. Heart is electromagnetically the most powerful organ. So is what comes from that heart space. So obviously everybody wants to be in love. When people love you, it's the best feeling, because it's the most powerful currency in the universe. Once you supercharge anything with love, it kind of ramps it up another level. It gives it that supersonic power. So any desire that you have, charge it, power it up with love, put it in that heart space and watch it manifest within no time. Number 3, become passionate, become desperate. What you need to do is you need to make that desire all that you think about, all you dream about. I know for me, it's like every day I got up, I want my house. How do I live? How do I live? How do I live without my house? And like I said before in point number 2, it's important for you to fall in love with this thing. So it's no different to you falling in love with an actual physical person. You can fall in love with a house too, as you know. If you're watching this, you really want that house. So fall in love with that house. What you find is, once you're passionate about your desire, it creates heat. It's literally just like a car, or you know, like I live in a cold climate, the UK. So when it's winter, everything dies, you know, nothing's growing. Things need heat in order to be propelled forward, in order to have momentum, just like a car. Once you fire it up, it gets going. So once you're passionate about your desire to have this house, okay, it will manifest because you're adding heat to that desire. So it's absolutely important that if you want a house, you're passionate about it. It can't just be, oh, I want this house, and then you just sit down and... For you religious folk, the Bible has a passage that says, faith without works is dead. So if it's something that you want, you have to get active. And that's one of the easiest ways to get it done. Be passionate about it. Add fuel beneath that desire and watch it go. Even us as humans, if our bodies fall below, I believe it's... phone! If it falls below about 36 degrees, that's it. You know, it's game over, you're dead. So you absolutely need heat even as a human being to kind of live, to thrive. And the universe is no less. The universe works by law. It's not called the law of attraction for no reason. Whatever works, you know, in one place, it will work in the other. Because that's the universe's language. So if us as humans, if we die, if we get cold, it's the same thing for your passion. It's not called passion for no, look at me, passion. It's not called passion for no reason. You have to add heat and excitement and flavor to this thing in order for it to grow. Things grow with heat. Without heat, there is death. So get passionate about wanting that house. And as I go on with this video, you will see how you can get passionate. Tip number 4. Become obsessive, and this is linked to tip number 3. You have to be obsessive about this house. Listen, I was so obsessive. For me, I loved the dog out of this house. I wanted it. I didn't even know what it looked like. I just wanted this thing. So in me becoming obsessive, it's just like a man or a woman becoming obsessed with the other sex. They want this person. So they love everything about them. They found out every little thing that kind of makes them tick. So it's the same thing with the house. For me, I was looking at Rightmove. Shout out to Rightmove, but they're an online estate agent. I was looking at houses. I remember working a night shift. This is 3 o'clock in the morning, right? And I'm on Rightmove looking at houses. Become obsessive. Look at pictures in magazines. Go online. In a previous job, I would walk around at lunchtime. So lunchtime came, I'm walking around, and we were next to a residential area. I'm looking at gardens, I'm looking at their house, I'm looking at doors. You must get specific. And I will go into why this is important later. But specificity, did I say that right? Specificity is actually very important because you've broken things down to a fine science. You know everything about this thing. So it's just automatic. You know this thing so entrenchedly and so intimately. You have to get it. It's like you're building. You're actually metaphysically building with your mind this thing. And once, as above, so below. Once it's in your mind, it has to be delivered. It's a law. Tip number 5, become extremely imaginative. And you have to see yourself, right, doing the things that you would do in your house. And you have to, everything is about dreaming here. This isn't real. It's not real yet. It's all real in the mind, okay? So this is why nowadays we've evolved in our understanding of children. We don't prevent children anymore from having fantasies and having imaginary friends, because that's an important mental faculty. Your ability to dream, fantasize, and be imaginative is very important for you to pull down from the invisible realms into the physical. And this is what you're doing if you're manifesting a home. So for me, I was extremely imaginative. I would imagine, you know, when I get the house, this is what I'm gonna do. And then, you know, if I go shopping, I'd see little things and I'd be like, yeah, this is what I'm going to buy for the house. I'm gonna buy this carpet, I'm gonna buy this. I picture myself work because I love gardening. I picture myself, I'm looking now outside at my garden and this mess. I ain't even got time to work because I've manifested a garden, a huge garden that's beyond even my wildest dreams. And you know, this is another thing, be very careful what you ask for. Be careful what you ask for, because I used to envision myself working on my garden, because in my old place I had a little tiny garden and I was just so starved in terms of what I wanted and my reality not matching up to what I wanted, you know? So I was in this little garden, all my neighbors would be like, oh, you've really transformed this little garden space, you're amazing. Because I had this craving, I had this desire to work on a big garden, but I made do with the little garden I had. And what that does, it sends a signal to the universe that, listen, you're serious about the thing that you want and you put in the work. So you put this action into the universe. The universe sees, hang on a second, she wants this. She has this tiny little garden and she is loving, and remember what I said about love? She's loving and caring for this garden so intimately. I have to give her more of what she is grateful for. And this is why it's important for you to be grateful. Even if you're in a tiny little space, be grateful for that space. Say, you know what, it's small, it's not what I want, stuff is falling down, but I'm happy with where I am right now because more is coming. What you are grateful for now, you will get more of. It's a universal law. So I'm looking at my garden. It's about 20 times the garden that I had in my old place. So it's extremely important, yes, be grateful for what you have and show to the universe, listen, if you give me this thing that I want, I'm not gonna flop. I'm not gonna flop. This is a serious desire of mine. And that's why it's important to write, go into your heart space and list why I want this. Because once you get it, right, the universe is more likely to give it to you because the universe sees you're being truthful. Another reason why being imaginative works is because it brings your mind into the present, right? Because I'm a Caribbean girl and we have this saying in Jamaica, one mind tell me say. That this one mind thing that I used to talk about is because the brain comprises of many different minds. There's not just one mind. Your brain is not made of this one brain. There's levels to the thing, levels to the ish. So you have your conscious mind, your subconscious mind, your superconscious mind. When you're talking about manifesting, these are the minds that you're talking about. So in you being imaginative, what you're doing is you're tapping into the subconscious mind. Now the subconscious mind does things subconsciously without you knowing. So it controls your conscious movements. And I'll try to explain this, right? This is why there's such a big agenda for your mind, right? So for example, the terrorists have gone and they've bombed up somewhere and there's a mass panic. Oh my God, they're bombing and blah, blah, blah. Listen, the amount of people that die from a terrorist act, yeah, is probably 0.001% of the population. Do you know how many people die from diabetes? Do you know how many people die from obesity? It's those two combined, it's about 40% of the population dying from diabetes and obesity. Yeah, you're talking about millions of people compared to 0.01%, perhaps 1,000 people dying. It's fed into the news consistently. You hear, oh, we're looking out for terrorists, because what they're doing is they're playing on your subconscious mind, your subconscious space, where if you now hear in that subconscious space on a regular basis, oh, I need to be fearful, I need to be fearful, then you start doing things that are fear-based. So you now start to physically, in the conscious realm, do things as a result of what the subconscious is being programmed to do. This is the power of the subconscious mind. And I'll give you another example. As a woman, you're programmed to think, if you are not sexually attractive, if you're not appealing, even to the members of the same sex, right? You want to keep women away from your men, right? This is territorial. So if you're not sexually appealing, right, your value is reduced. That's what the subconscious mind has been programmed to believe. So with that programming, women have gone out, okay, and consciously started to act on that subconscious programming. So what do? They go out and buy every week, shopping, spending every month, buying. This is how you know the state of that person's subconscious mind. They're basically telling you, I don't have the highest self-esteem. I need to buy all of these clothes because I feel like it will help to boost my appeal and my ability to attract. Getting back to our house, you must imagine, be imaginative that, you know, you're in your house, you're drinking tea, you're doing this, you're doing that. Because when it comes to the subconscious mind, time is two things. Time is not important, and also there is no distinction between what is real and what is fake. Okay, so I'll try and explain those two things. First and foremost, the real and fake thing. I'm petrified of snakes. I even hate saying the word. I don't like snakes. Okay, why? I don't know. But in my subconscious mind, there is something that's saying to me, you must be afraid of the snakes. And I think I'm gonna die. I'm literally I believe I am going to die because of this snake. That is the power of the subconscious mind. It will control your conscious movements and have all kinds of irrational fears playing up and around in your head. So this is why it's important to imagine and pretend that you're in a real space. This is my real house. I'm doing real things, because your mind thinks it's real. When I'm afraid of snakes, my mind thinks really I am going to die. People with a fear of public speaking, they have that irrational fear because subconsciously they think the embarrassment that they might undergo at some point during that public speaking is going to cause them to die. So this is how important the subconscious is in terms of its inability to distinguish between what is real and what is fake. So if you tell your subconscious mind, it's real, I have this house, it will start to think, okay, it will put things in motion because it thinks this is a real event. This is why it's important to be imaginative. You have to imagine, I have this thing. And the universe, again, our universe, law of attraction, will start to bring more things to fulfill this little dream or this little thing that you have, because it is attraction. Like attracts like. So once you're imagining your house and your tea and your this and your that and your garden and your garage, your mind starts to think, hold on, this is real, it's happening now. So your subconscious mind does not distinguish between real and fake. And also, number 2, going back to what I said before, time is not real. For your subconscious mind to think this is happening right now, because it intensifies your ability to manifest. So like I keep saying, think now that you have your garden, yeah? Go out and start buying things for the garden you want. You want a pool, start looking at pools. How much the pool guy is going to charge to clean up the pool and all these things, because your subconscious mind, seeing that, hold on, she's doing these things now, begins to think, oh, this is a reality. So time does not exist. Your faith in a higher power, your belief in another more powerful source will really be helpful to the cause. So for me, I have an avid belief in God because I've been through so much in this little tiny life, right? I have proven God for myself. Listen, it doesn't have to be God. It doesn't have to be a man with a big beard. Just believe there is a higher power controlling my destiny. And then you can tap into that miraculous thing, which is manifesting from nothing to something. So how my belief and my faith was tested in this whole manifestation process, and you will be tested, was I was basically trying to leap, okay? So I was in a situation where I was living with my previous partner. The relationship had broken up. I needed to find somewhere to live. Where I was compared to what I wanted was such a huge step. So the scenario was, put the house on the market, hopefully I find a buyer, hopefully my tenants don't move out, hopefully it doesn't take ages for me to not only find a buyer, but because I can take up to 3 months to sell, and that's at the least, but it could take a lot longer, obviously. So it could take longer, and I could take a lot longer to find a buyer. Then once I found a buyer, I'd have to find somewhere else to live in between while I'm listen, there were just so many, girl, I don't care. I don't care, because I want this house. And whatever it takes to make it possible, I am going to do it, and it's going to be done for me. I had the faith in my mind. I had the faith in my mind that I want this. I wrote my list and I said to God, these are the reasons on my heart that I want it. I deserve it. Therefore, I'm going to get it. And this is what's important. Like I said before, if you're watching this video, you want to miraculously manifest this house, you must believe. You have to believe it is going to happen, and your faith must be unwavering and unshakable. Faith is the substance of things hoped for, the evidence of which are unseen. Don't play with this Bible, right? They have totally misappropriated this Bible. The Bible has gems. So for me, the whole thing looked like a tall ask. But when I tell you, put my house on the market, it sold in 4 days. In that January that people said nobody buys houses, it sold in 4 days, right? My tenants did give in their notice. I was in a shambles about it, but because my house had, the process had started moving along so nicely, yes, I did have to move in, but I didn't have to pay that much rent. Had my faith, I sat back and everything worked out. All kinds of things was going on and I was just like, no, I'm getting my house. I didn't pay attention to anything negative that was gonna kind of test my faith to say this is not gonna happen. I just closed my eyes, stayed focused. Whatever you want, you must get. It is a law. It is a law of this planet. I want you guys to kind of just sit down and realize that this whole planet operates by law. One day, quick story, I was looking at this tree. It was such a droopy looking tree, right, during the winter. And then all of a sudden, spring started to emerge. And then it just erupted after a few weeks into this massive tree. I said, God, what is this? How did those leaves get onto that tree? I just went into the, you know, we know the process of photosynthesis and the sun and the moon and the this and the that. The download that I got that gave me the metaphysical analysis that I needed. The leaves were always there. Obviously they're always there. But what happened was, and this is gonna sound probably obvious, but to me it was like, oh my God. The reason why the leaves came out was because the conditions were right. The sun came out, the weather got warmer, like I was saying before with our heat. Heat is important. The weather got warmer, you know, outside wasn't so icy. All these physical, miraculous things were happening that made the conditions right for the leaves to yield. And this is what the law of attraction is, even for us as humans. It's a law. So once the sun and the moon and the warmth and everything was there, our leaves started to come forward because there was an attraction. The leaves are attracted to sun, moon, warm climates, whatever. It's the same with you trying to manifest your house. Manifestation is attracted to a certain kind of mind. This is what I'm going through here. You must have faith. You must be imaginative. You must believe. You must be able to dream. This is the bundle for manifestation to work. And once, you know, manifestation sees these elements, like with our tree, everything will just open up. It's a law. It is the law of attraction. This is why, for example, lotto winners, they win the lottery and then they lose it all. Because it's just a law. You wanted the thing, you got it, now what? It's just a law. You will get whatever you want. And sadly, on the flip side, this is why certain women attract a certain type of man or certain types of relationships. It's because they're emitting this kind of aura, this kind of energy that men that are abusers are drawn to subconsciously, right? So everything works by attraction. So be careful how your mind is putting things out in order to bring things and absorb things back in. Because once you believe, conversely, if you believe bad things are going to happen, then they'll happen. So yes, belief is important. You must believe this thing is going to happen to you. Tip number 7, bring it down into the physical. So you want a house is physical. Bring it into the physical. So what I did was I went house hunting because I was so confident I would get this house. I went out to the area where God told me to go and look, and I was looking for houses. Looked on my estate agent website, looked at houses that were in my budget, and I went there. I found the house, I went there. I didn't go in the house, I just looked outside. So it's important for you to bring down what you need into the physical. If you want a certain type of house, be looking at it all the time and try and go to that house. You know, even arrange viewings, even if you haven't got the money. Like I said before, it fools your subconscious mind into thinking, it's real, so I must, my snowball effect, bring other things into this mix to make it even a bigger reality. So bring things into the physical. Start shopping, like I said before. Do a lot of physical things that you would do that says to the universe, hey, I have this house. Tip number 8, this can't be too restrictive. And it's kind of paradoxical as well, because you need to be specific, right, in terms of what you want, but don't be over specific. So don't, say to the universe, I want a house with a picket fence, it has to have 5 stories, it has to have a red mailbox outside, there has to be a moat and a pool around the back, and I want this house, in 2 weeks. Don't do that. Don't do that. Just have a rough idea of what you want. For me, what I said was, I wanted a house with space. It needs to be quite green. I need space. I need a garden. I need it to be in a community as well. I don't want to be too far out there. I had my specifications, but I wasn't saying, listen, the house God showed me was tore up. Like I said in my previous video, the house needed so much work doing to it, right? This was nothing like I had in mind, because I allowed space for the universe to create. Have you ever tried to create? Have you ever worked for a boss that was restrictive? You could not create. And that's the thing about this dimension. Everything is in boxes. The universe doesn't work that way. Nothing in the universe works by restriction and boxes. So what you need to do is be loose and fluid in your requirements. Yes, you want a house. Have a very loose specifications as to, don't go down into the details. Very loosely say, I would like a big house with 3 bedrooms and roughly in this area. And if you have a child that probably needs a certain level of exercise or whatever, I would like a pool. But don't go 10 mil like these high maintenance women that have a list of 5,000 things. You don't need to do that. I mean, you can be specific, but what will happen is this: it takes longer. It takes longer, because that's an important side of you not being restrictive as well. Don't put a time on when you want things done. I know this sounds crazy. Look at me. I was selling a house, not being homeless practically, and I needed to have somewhere to live. But you don't need to stress the universe out and say, I want it now. The universe knows you want it. The universe knows. But you have to, again, going back to belief, you have to trust and believe that the universe is going to just make everything work out for you. So belief is important, and do not pile a whole bunch of restrictions on the universe, because the language of the universe, like love is a big language, so is flow. The universe is very intelligent, so it's important to allow the universe to work out what is best. Step away from the conscious mind. So like for me, when I was moving all over the place, my friend said to me, how many times have you moved this year? And me, listen, I didn't care. I just allowed the universe to create and flow, because I trusted in the universe. I allowed it to take me where I needed to go, because the universe is the captain. The universe is the captain now. It's important for you to have trust and faith in the universe. Just give everything over to the universe. Tip number 9, prepare for destruction. Prepare for destruction. So if you want to move houses, there is a leveling up going on there. Your life is changing. There is going to be a shift in your life. Homes are, your domestic environment is extremely important in terms of how it affects you. So once you're changing your living arrangements, it's going to have a profound effect on your life. So if you're trying to manifest a home, I highly suggest, especially if you're trying to use the law of attraction, I highly suggest that you prepare yourself for destruction, okay? Just like a child, once they start to teeth, those teeth start coming out, pain. Pain, because things need to break through. If a plant is growing, it needs to break through that surface. When you're manifesting, you're growing something, okay? If something is being taken into the physical from the invisible, there's a burst, there's a coming through, and that sometimes it involves some level of pain. And like I said before in my previous tip, just sit back and let it flow, right? Let that ish flow. So for me, like I said, I was in a relationship that had, was just falling apart. We had broken up. I just needed to physically leave where I was living, and I was living with him. Everything, I remember that day so clearly, everything happened in such an odd way, right? It was a weird sequence of events, but it led to me coming home at a very strange time. So something happened. The energy that propelled that day to happen like it did, right, caused for me and my previous partner to have this huge bust up, and he was just like, listen, you need to get out of my house. It made me realize, listen, you need to get your bashangta, you need to get your pom-pom moving. That whole thing, right, was extremely destructive for me. Prepare for that, because afterwards, when that whole argument happened, it basically propelled me to get my pom-pom moving. And I did. and everything just moved along nicely because I was so hesitant. I was afraid and I didn't want to put things into motion. But after that, I sure as hell did. Prepare for things to be destroyed. Maybe you try to get the house and it falls through, it doesn't work. Even for me, things came up. I went to see, you know, my surveyor said, oh, this bit of the house that you want to buy is falling apart. I maintained a very smooth head, which brings me to tip number 10, my final tip. Do not stress, okay? If you're in this manifestation world, you will come to learn that stress, tension, my thing about heat again, nothing moves whenever you're like this, right? You need to relax. And again, it ties into the point of trust and belief. You have to just let things go. You have to flow. You have to trust, put things out there, right? I want this house. And just believe. You do your work, you do your manifestation, you're visualizing, and just believe. Know it's gonna come. Don't attach time. Don't stress. Just believe. Stress it will be the detriment of your ability to manifest. So as this is gonna be a tough one as well, because it is going to be a stressful time. But try your best to just maintain a cool head and believe it's going to happen for you, sister, brother. It's going to happen. And another thing I want you guys to remember is this. The law of attraction / manifestation and godliness, they are different. So it's like I said, it is by law that things have to manifest, because that's how things work on this dimension. Once you put things out there, they must come back, okay? The issue is, which I don't think I've ever heard anybody touch on this point during all these law of attraction videos, is that you have to be mindful of what you're attracting, okay? It's a law, and the universe and God, they're different. They are different things. There is universal intelligence and then there's godly intelligence, okay? So for example, if you want to manifest, say, a house, and the reason why you want to manifest this specific house is because you want to make people jealous, you will manifest that house because you've desired, you're putting forward the desire for that house, for that manifestation. However, it's not in line with godliness. So what you're going to have is, you get this thing, but it might be to your detriment. This is like people that want to manifest, I don't know, a man so you can show off. This is why, as I said in the beginning, it's important to get your heart clear on what you want to manifest before you start to manifest it, because you will manifest whatever you want, right? But you try to make sure that this is godly. So manifest that house for godly reasons, because it is a law for you to get what you want. Yeah, sometimes you don't know what's best for you, so it's important for you to tap into a higher source, right? Have dialogue and communication with another alternative higher power and ask, is this what you want for me to do? That's very important when manifesting with the law of attraction, because you will just get what you want, whether it's for your good or not. Bad or good, you get it. So make sure you are clear. Is this going to serve me? Is this going to be in my best interest? And the way you will find that out is if you speak to the big man, woman, being upstairs. So yes, I think I've spoken for long enough. Thank you so much for watching. I hope this has inspired you to try manifestation for yourself. Please like, share, subscribe. I'm going to be putting out more content because I actually quite like sitting down and talking to invisible people that are not actually here. But yes, thanks for your attention, and I'll hopefully see you soon. Deuces!